2216, 29 Gavin Circle. The zoning board of appeals will hold a public hearing in the select board's meeting room at Reading Town Hall, 16 Lowell Street, Reading, Massachusetts, on Monday, December 19th, 2022 at 7 p.m. on the application of William Nolan pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 10, for variance under Reading zoning bylaw sections 4.5.2, 5.5, 5.5.1.1D, and 7.4, as may be determined by the zoning board to construct a two-story addition with a non-conforming setback to an accessory structure on the property located at 29 Gavin Circle, Assessors Map 51, Lot 160, in Reading, Massachusetts. Unless there is an objection, I'll dispense with the reading of the abutters list, except to say that the abutters were notified, as were the following: the Select Board, the Police Department, the Building Department, Health Department, Engineering Division, Town Clerk, Fire Department, Conservation Commission, Assessor's Office, CPDC, and members and associate board members of the Board of Appeals, as well as the planning boards of Wakefield, Linfield, North Reading, Stoneham, Woburn, and Wilmington. Now, testimony given before this board is taken under oath, so if you think you want to speak, please raise your right hand. Stand and raise your right hand. I swear that the testimony given by me before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. If true, the response is I do.
I do.
Okay, wanna go ahead and...
Sure. For the record, my name is Bill Nolan from Savoy Nolan Architects. I'm here representing Bob and Carla Kamenos, the owners of 29 Gavin Circle. Before we get started, we were in receipt of some letters of support. Bob and Carla went to their neighbors, showed them the plans, kind of ran through them, and asked if they would lend their support to the project, and we received 4 letters. Can I submit these to Chair or to?
Yeah, why don't you submit them to Andrew?
Okay.
We'll pass them down for review, I guess.
Thank you. And here's my business card just for contact.
Thank you.
The houses, by the way, this is the property here. The houses, by the way, are on either side of them and 2 across the street for number references. So I'll just hop into the presentation.
Yep.
Try to keep this brief so we can get out of here. This is the existing property here at 29 Gavin Circle. It's an existing 2-story split-level wood-framed house with an in-ground pool. Just a little bit about the land. There's a significant portion of conservation land you can see here that's unbuildable, and there are 2 easements running through the property: a 30-wide easement running that way, and a 20-wide easement running the perimeter of the front. There's also, I just wanted to point out here too, a non-compliant shed. This shed here is when we got our site plan and from the surveyor, we realized that the shed was actually over the property line pretty significantly to the 41 Gavin Circle. This is a pool shed that was built for the pool, and it houses an oil tank that was used for it's now an abandoned heater. In fact, the shed has been removed since once we learned that it was over the property line. So Bob has removed the shed. It's no longer there. So what we're looking to do, pretty modest addition to the back of the house. There's an existing sunroom where you can see here. That's too small for what they're looking to use it for, so we're looking to increase the size of that. So it's a 14 by 25 foot addition off the back of the house, and a proposed deck that's about the same depth, 14 by 18 off the back of the house. So that's essentially what we're looking to do. It'll be a 2-story piece, although the lower story is pretty much the basement level, so it'll match. No higher than the existing. This is the existing house, photographs of the existing house. This is the front, looking at it from the front of the street, which we're not doing any work to. This is the back overlooking the pool. This is the existing sun porch right here and deck that we're looking to remove and extend. This is the area of the conservation land right here. I'm taking the picture kind of right on the edge of the conservation land looking this way. And then this is the back of the house, the extent of the pool. That is the shed right here that we have removed, that was not complying. You can see the fence and the large tree line behind it. Real quickly, the existing floor plan, it's a 3-bedroom kitchen, small dining room, and you can see the sunroom here is actually quite small. So that's what we're looking to extend. And there's about a 4-foot, little over 4 feet transition between the first or main living level down to the pool deck. So the proposed deck is going to be the how we achieve getting back down to the pool deck. Garage on half of the basement level, and this is kind of just an open living room space with a bathroom and mechanical room. So moving forward to the proposed plans. So starting from the upper level or the main living level, we're looking to increase the sunroom. So it gives them a little bit more sitting area, but also dining area extends. They have perfect time of the season to have larger tables and such. And then again, the deck to get them down to the pool patio. Downstairs, one of the first things that we were charged with doing in our design was they have 2 children. Their son, who's now a teenager, lives in this room right here. I also live in a split level myself. This is a pretty small bedroom, especially for a teenage boy. So they were looking for ways to increase, get more space down there. So one thing that we came up with was relocating the bedroom down there, which gives them a bigger bedroom down at the basement level, and then using the basement of the new addition to reclaim the kind of living room space that they lost. One final thing is we are proposing to put a bulkhead, an exposed bulkhead on the side. I did check with the building inspector to see if this was subjected to the side setbacks, and he said that it wasn't because it's just an open staircase. It's an egress out of the building and into the building. I think that is it. I'm sure you'll have questions. I'm happy to answer them once I finish. This is a computer rendering of the model that we did. It's slightly out of date. The window, you'll see the windows have changed a little bit, but the volume has stayed the same. It's just a hipped roof. You'll see that it goes under the existing roof, so we're not making this any larger. It extends this way. The deck here with a staircase down to the pool. There's currently a set of stone stairs here that we're actually going to abandon. We're going to wall that up and keep everything within the fence. I'll gloss over the elevations, but these are just elevations. This is looking at it from the left-hand side. No, I'm sorry, from the conservation side, the right-hand side. This is from the left-hand side with the staircase down to the door, and this is the back here that we're proposing. So why are we here? The reason why we're here is because of the pool. This addition could be done as a matter of right if the pool didn't exist. We're within the setbacks. We're well within the buildable area and things like that. So if the pool didn't exist, we wouldn't need to come before you guys. The fact is the pool does exist, and per section 5.5.1.1 in the general provisions, subsection D, any accessory structure, in this case the pool, that is less than 10 feet from the principal structure on the lot shall be considered attached to the principal structure. It effectively becomes part of the house and is subjected to the setbacks. In this case, the rear setbacks are 20 and the side setbacks are 15. That's what the house would have to be subjected to. I'm going to switch back to the site plan. So as you can see, the house meets the setbacks. We're at 16.9. The proposed addition keeps the same setbacks, so we're at 16.9 there. We're well within the setbacks there. Front, we're not changing anything. And we're actually 44.5 feet rear setback, again, if we were just looking at the structure at the closest point. So we're significantly far back from the rear setback. Unfortunately, the existing pool is only 9'6" from the setback where 20 is required, and 11.6 from the side setback where 15 is required. So let me just talk about the pool for a little bit. The pool is existing pool, and it was installed by two previous owners. So not Bob and Carla, not the people that they bought them for, but the people before them. And it's been in existence for about 18 years. The pool is currently 8'6" off of the existing sunroom. So if we go back to the existing site plan, it's about 8'6" from the existing to the pool. So by that alone, it's actually a non-conforming, existing non-conformity, and is subjected to the regulations. The proposed addition will increase or reduce the dimension between the pool and the primary structure by about 4 feet. So we're going to have about 4'8" in between the pool and the proposed structure. So we're reducing the dimension, but it is a pre-existing non-conforming situation already. And the reason why this is a variance as opposed to a special permit, so for example, if it was an existing non-conforming situation and we aren't making this any worse, which we aren't, because the pool isn't changing in these dimensions, the dimensions that are non-conforming are these two right here. Those aren't changing, they're staying the same. The building inspector actually does have the right to just grant something that isn't going to increase the nonconformity, or they could send it back to you guys with for a special permit. The issue is and we spoke with the building inspector on these two things. The issue is that he wasn't able to locate a permit for the pool. So therefore, he made the decision that this is actually a new nonconformity, even though it's been in existence for 18 years and it was, by no fault of the current owners. So that's why we're here today before you. Again, we're not changing any of the existing dimensions; those all stay the same. We're 44.5 feet away, and at the closest for the rear, and over almost 2 feet away from the setback limits on the side. The hardship, because this is a variance, we need to provide a hardship. Usually hardships come with the land, and we do have a case here that this piece of land, almost half of it's unbuildable when you factor in the conservation land, the easements, so that kind of tucks the house here to the corner. But the real hardship in this is the existing pool. I don't know if it technically meets the definition of a hardship, but unfortunately, with this pool being here, the current owners or any future owners won't be able to change the footprint of their house without having to get a variance for something that pre-exists. So it's kind of a tricky one. I've sat on the zoning board in my own town for a few years, so I know that what you need to do in order to prove hardship for the variance. So hopefully I mapped that out clearly for you. And I think that's the extent of my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
You want to start?
I guess I have a quick question. So you're saying the pool itself is already non-conforming and that's not changing,
Correct.
but the house is also non-conforming because it's not far enough away from the pool according to the...
Yeah, so the house is actually conforming. What makes it non-conforming is actually the pool.
how close.
Yeah, because again, if you take the pool away from it, we're not even before you guys tonight. But the fact that the pool is there and that it's the proximity of the pool to the house makes it part of they treat it like the principal structure now. So effectively, it's part of the house. My argument is that that already exists. It's already closer to 10 feet, so it already should be subjected to the setbacks back there. We're not changing any of those. So I think it's clear that we're not it's certainly not more detrimental than what has existed now for 18 years. Thank you.
I would say surprise, right? We did some surveying to get this initial plan kicked off with Bill. Found the shed right away, which it's not a great thing to find. Because our fence that's existing has been there per our neighbor for plus 30 years, right? So there's a fence up above that, where it says oil tank, there's a fence that runs over there. So we found that was not great. But then additionally, to then find out that the pool may not have been permitted 18 years ago when it was put in. Another sort of surprise, right? Glad you came up with this great idea, but there's a pool here that was never permitted, right? So for us, these were kind of things that have popped up. I went out, took care of the shed, got rid of the oil tank with a permit, cleaned that whole area out, met with the neighbor that's closest, told him about this, and he said, well, I've been here forever, and
We're
that
used
shed's
to it.
always been there, right? As a matter of fact, it was pretty easy to take down, it was pretty rotted. But when I told him about all of these issues, he was flabbergasted. I hadn't, because he has a pool that was put in at a similar time. He wasn't aware that anything had been installed without a permit or any of that stuff either. So, and Bill's thoughts are with the sunroom being already too close to the pool, causing that pool to be sort of out of zoning, that existing non-conforming starts to connect. But we had no idea up until all the drawings were completed, everything was ready to go to permit.
Are there any concerns that I might be straying a little bit out of our purview here, but are there concerns with the fact that the pool was not permitted? Are there any environmental issues or safety issues that,
The pool appears to be in very good shape.
okay,
It's a concrete pool. It is for 18 years old, it's in quite good shape. We have plans to resurface it just because some of the tile at the very top is starting to chip. The oil tank didn't leak. It's all clean back there. We pulled it out and had that done by a company that does oil tanks.
That's probably the biggest win in this situation is getting rid of that oil tank. So in terms of
Yeah.
getting rid of that, that's a huge
Right.
win for the.
It hadn't worked since we moved into the house, frankly. And I don't know who would have a power pool heater with an oil tank and a big burner. It sounded like a jet taking off in the backyard when I tried it one day. But all that stuff is cleaned away. I left the pads there for right now that they were sitting on. So in general, it feels like it was built okay. There's a retaining wall that runs right up next to that area that we've rebuilt about a 50-foot section of that in kind. Some of the rocks at the top came apart. But that's also very sturdy and seems like it was put in when the pool was put in, frankly, to level that grade back there.
We are also going to need to go before Conservation Commission, so that's also a process that we're going to go through as well.
They have been by the site and had no issues with the conservation land the way it is. Our intent is to access the job from the top and not ever come down through this section here. One of the items that Bill mentioned was closing of this stair here. We don't use this side yard for much of anything, it's just grass. But the idea would be to approach the work from up here to stay away from the conservation down here. Because there's no real need for us to access it from below.
questions?
Yeah, I got a few. I guess maybe a question for Brett. What's the typical, for unpermitted things like this, what's a typical procedure, if they weren't gonna try to build something else? Would it just stay there or
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't
Okay.
bust on them too much for
Yeah.
being there for 18 years.
Right.
I mean, that was one of the bigger things. If the pool was permanent, I think I spoke with the owner and this was kind of an error on the town of Reading's part. They issued the permit to be too close, or who knows, it might not have been in existence then. I would feel a little differently if the town messed up, but I mean, just to cover our ends, I felt like it needed to come here.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I guess the other question too is that, this could be opinion kind of works, but just, did you consider putting anything on the side yard where you have more space and it's not in the conservation lands? Does that just not work for?
Are you talking about over here?
Yeah.
The 2 bedrooms are down there. So you'd either have to really significantly reduce the existing bedrooms to create a corridor over there, or you'd be kind of walking through bedrooms to get to a sunroom space. And it's obviously a natural progression for it to have the sunroom with that much glass overlooking the pool. So not really, it just didn't, plan-wise, we didn't lend itself to that.
I would say too, not that it really matters, the existing sunroom's built really poorly. So it's a frame over existing deck that was there.
Some grading issues underneath it too that we're gonna be able to correct.
It's open underneath, the windows leak, the roof leaks, like it needs work. When the pool was put in, to your point, this area as it was graded, they backfilled against some steel alley columns, so they're buried below grade, which is not a solid idea. So that's another sort of, like, it's built poorly. This idea with getting Bill involved was to get somebody to come to look at it to make it part of the house. Right now, it's open to the house. There's no heat out there. It leaks like crazy. We wanted to make it.
It probably was a deck at one time
It
that
was,
they
yeah.
just threw.
Framed over, that's all. So it's kind of the other reason to rebuild that piece of the house is that it's a mess.
I have a few thoughts. How long have you owned that house?
7 years.
7 years.
Yes.
Is it exactly in the same shape?
Exactly in the same shape that we moved in. We painted it, that's it.
And you say the pool was built 18 years ago?
18 years ago.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And there's no record of it, Brett, at all?
Nothing.
Well, if you look at that existing situation and what you want to do, the only thing that's different is the distance of the principal structure to the pool. It's less than 10 now, and it's going to be a little more than 10, right? So, and that's the basis for a variance because of the absence of information,
Right.
defining what's there, okay? But I don't know, I don't remember when 5511D came into existence in this thing, but I could rationalize that what you see there now is grandfathered. Okay? And looking at it from that vantage point, you could conceivably just do what you want to do by right. If we made a finding to that effect, okay? That's
Okay.
one way I look at it, okay?
Okay.
I'm having trouble rationalizing that this whole equates out to a variance. I'm having trouble rationalizing that, I really am.
It's a strange one, and I think Brett and I actually had a kind of a back and forth, and actually Bob got involved as well. This is just one of those ones that doesn't fit neatly into the the bylaws.
Today, it doesn't meet the current bylaw,
Correct.
okay? And that's unfortunate for whatever reason that may be, but that's the way it is.
Yeah.
And so I could technically look at it and say, after 18 years, it's kind of a grandfathered situation,
Okay.
okay? And I'm leaning toward finding that this is, by right, something you can do,
Okay.
okay? Now, I mean, a variance is a variance, they're hard to get.
Hmm.
I think I've been on this board for 16 years. I've approved one.
Okay.
I've approved one in 16 years, okay? They're very hard to get
Yeah.
because they go with the property.
Right.
He sells the house, it goes with the property,
Right.
okay? And that's not right. So I don't know, my posture at the moment is that, because the thing I was wrestling with initially when I went through this whole thing was, does it need a variance or not? What does the data tell you? And the data
I
tells
can
you.
just echo what Brett said. I think he's just trying to cover the town. And
I understand that. Probably who made the mistake is long gone anyway, so.
Exactly, yeah, that's true.
But, or whether it was a mistake or just an oversight or it's just, I don't know. But I'm not believing this needs a variance. That's my position at the moment.
If you were coming to us now with no pool there and asking us to allow
Right.
you to build an extension on the house and a pool that's going to be too close to the setback or over the setback.
We wouldn't,
We wouldn't
yeah,
grant it. I don't think.
couldn't get that.
So, so I actually think Si's on the right track there.
I mean, if we were to look at this from a variance standpoint and say, well, you need a variance, okay, and we disapproved it, you can't come back in 2 years.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not only that.
I'm not rationalizing that because of that, I'm just believing in my own mind that that's,
It would effectively make it extremely difficult to add anything onto this house too, because of this pool.
the only thing I wrestled with in my own mind, after thinking the way I did, was that you got a 4.7 foot separation from this edge of the house
Yeah.
to that edge of the pool.
Yeah,
You might want to consider putting in that little area, a railing that just
Seems awful
might
tight.
be a safety thing.
yeah,
For someone like going in from the house into the pool. That's the only thing I'm looking at.
yeah. No, that's a fair point. We actually had a discussion about that. I think it's less of a concern with the Commonwealths because their kids are older, and I know that you're gonna have guests and stuff like that. But that's certainly something to consider.
What's over there? So,
That is the shallow end, fortunately.
that is the shallow end?
Yeah, that's the shallow end, and I don't know how deep is the pool, like 6 feet, 7 feet,
Yeah, I'd say this is 4 feet.
4 feet. Yeah, for at least half of it. The deep end's towards the rear.
I've followed it to the shallow ends before.
Yeah.
But there's not gonna be a door immediately
No.
adjacent to
No,
that.
and in fact,
Area.
that's a good point. Let me just throw up the plans real quick. You're actually, the closest part from going from here to the house to here is you're about as far away from the pool as you can get. So you really have to kind of work your way around that.
What do you think, Patrick?
So if we did say this didn't need a variance, what would our decision look like?
Excuse me?
What would our decision look like if we said that this didn't need a variance?
It's a question for Andrew.
Just to touch on that, I guess quickly, I mean, I'm not I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I feel like this is a tough situation for the homeowner as well. I mean, I think we've talked multiple times about it, and just because of a pool that somebody put in, I don't think, I'm all in favor for this. But the wording of the finding, I guess my thing is I don't want people coming now and saying, hey, listen, I'm gonna put this shed or pool in, and then I'm gonna come back 5 years later and try to put an addition on.
Right.
So if
Going
the
all the
finding
way
is
out.
the age or the grant, just to make sure it's noted that it is because of the age of it, or it is grandfathered, I just don't want it to
Yeah.
set precedents, I guess.
That's actually why
I'm all in favor of this, in my personal opinion, not that it matters, but
I think that's why grandfathering makes more sense, because if we grant a variance, am I correct that it wouldn't necessarily be just for this structure being the extended house plus pool? It would be a variance from the setback that would allow people in the future to do anything up to that
Yeah,
setback,
it
I
would-
believe.
It would prevent people from,
Yeah.
okay, let's put the pool in first and then go back. Yeah.
Right. Whereas if we just say this use pool that's too close to the lines is grandfathered. And therefore it doesn't act to trigger the need for a variance.
To your question, Patrick, that you asked, I have trouble approving hardship.
Hmm.
Something like this, I really do.
Yeah.
It's hard to make a case for hardship with this particular example.
It's a different conversation, but I've actually seen quite a few projects that don't meet the definition as the state writes what they are, that it has to go with the land, but have true hardships. And I would put this one in that somebody buying it kind of unknowing, because there's no way for an homeowner coming into buying this piece of property knowing that he can't, or they can't, do anything to it because of an error that
It's
somebody
not that
else
they
made.
can't do anything, there's a lot of things they can do, they just have to conform.
They'd have to
the
get rid of the
bylaw,
pool.
that's all. Huh?
They'd have to get rid of the pool.
Or redo it.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. But I agree with you. It's, I mean, if you look at the letter of the law, the requirements that, the thresholds that you need to meet for a variance, it's not
I mean,
black
right
and
now,
white.
by definition, it's part of their primary
Yeah.
principal residence. It's part of it.
It's
How
certainly
it got
cleaner.
there is a point of question, there's no question about that, but it is part of it.
Sure.
Yeah, I have the same problem with hardship, just because, I mean, to me, hardship is more than we wish we had more room. It's more than our teenage son needs a bigger bedroom. I'm sorry, but you know, if that's the true way to meet those needs is to buy a bigger house, you know, so I don't think that those sorts of considerations do meet the letter of the law. But that being said, we do try to, you know, work and try to figure out how to give people what they want. And also in this case, I mean, you could say that you kind of lucked into getting a pool that's bigger than you otherwise would have been able to build, you know, so.
I don't think we would be putting a pool back there if we had if it wasn't already there. But I totally understand.
Andrew, do you have any thoughts about how we would craft this if we're trying to do what we've been talking about trying to do?
I mean, I think we would try to word it that the existing pool is already within that principal structure setback, right, or within 10 feet from the house. And so,
It's an existing non-conforming.
right, so you're extending that non-conforming from the house to the pool.
But not increasing
But
the
Right,
non-conforming.
the non-conforming dimensional setbacks of the structure, so I mean, if you'd rather special permit of extending that,
Sticking out of the way here too, but you know.
yeah, just cause it's a bit odd in a finding, but it's also odd that like the setback from the pool to the house is not non-conforming, so you can extend that, right?
Correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
Rob, but if there was a permit for this and you had documentation, this would be a special permit, right? I think it would.
There was a permit for the pool. Cause you're extending a non-conformity.
Yeah, it's already non-conforming. We're,
But you're not extending the
We're really
nonconformity
not
with the
extending
addition,
it.
Yeah, exactly.
so it wouldn't even be a special permit.
okay.
Well,
Well, I think he has
I
the
guess.
right to either rule on it or send it to
Yeah,
you, so it could be a special
you could
permit.
extend it. Technically.
Yeah, I know.
Extending it closer, I get, you know, you set it 10 feet, you're 4 feet.
Right,
I don't know, it's a,
But that's not the non-conforming part of it? The
Yeah.
non,
yeah, exactly, it's
Yeah.
the setback,
Yeah.
you know, I hear you.
Unless, I mean, when I read this, my first thought was, what matters here is how close the pool is to the house and how much closer they're making
Right.
it to the house, and that seems to me to be a safety issue. But that isn't what we're concerned about.
yes.
It isn't what anybody's concerned about, right?
Well, and I don't think it's what you're concerned about is the close proximity to the house. I really think this is the non-conformity.
No, I understand that, but looking at it logically, just looking at it, you think, oh my gosh, the pool's only gonna be 5 feet away from the house? That seems really close, you know,
If you
that,
actually
but
look
that's
at
not
the
what we
pictures-
do here.
Yeah, if you look at the pictures just to satisfy, this is just a concrete path, this is all plantings right now anyway. So to get from the deck to this side of the house, you walk just on this concrete, no eating, right? This is a big section of bushes that I just whacked down recently, but, so that cross path is always like that. To kind of fix that would require putting in a foundation to flatten it. Because right now it goes underneath that deck
Yeah, okay,
framed over thing.
Yep.
Right, and so there's some bushes here that kind of keep you from seeing that mess under there. Because this dives off towards the existing house.
But that new addition is gonna infringe on the concrete.
Slightly here, like, and we've talked about, we could push this back slightly so that it wasn't so close to this concrete here. Because it
doesn't-
doesn't nip that edge.
That doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
really.
You can see the bushes right there
Yeah, yeah.
that come up and,
I took a ride by.
yeah.
so the area
Walk
that,
in your backyard, though, anyway.
so the area that
Take a
people, the area that people have now to pass by the
It's the
pool is
About
gonna,
the same.
it's gonna be about the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's never necessarily felt like anything, and I do realize that this is for the future, right? Somebody that could live there in the future. For us, we've never really thought of it as a thing. I, have even traversed this to cut this grass with my lawn tractor. Right?
And I don't know if the town has a regulation that deals with that, and if it does, it's not ours to be concerned about anyway, so.
So it's- Like I say, I don't know when 5511D came into being. I don't know. If it didn't exist at that time, then there should have been some kind of a decision made because that back
Yeah, I see what you're
Setback.
saying, yeah.
would have been
I
clobbered.
don't know when that section of the bylaw was added,
Like, we could just take the tack, but it is what it is today. And today, it's part of the principal structure, and it's remaining that. It's just that one dimension has changed, which doesn't affect the principal structure as is defined today. I still am in favor of finding myself.
Is there any like language in the bylaws or law about grandfathering in general? Like, is there a
so
general
there is
time?
certain protections for structures. I think it's after 10 years that they can get a type of protected status of legal non-conforming. We've used that in the past, actually, I believe, here.
There is an appendix in the back of the bylaws, isn't there, that kind of shows when all those changes
There is,
would
but
have
it
to
wouldn't be
Can
so
you find
spec-
5511D?
It wouldn't be that specific, I
Yeah,
can't
it's not
imagine.
specific by section like that.
I don't know, we could take a long time looking for it today. You know,
It's
I mean, if we don't do that formally, maybe we can use that timeline as like a guideline for the way we work.
Well, 2016, amend 551 permitted accessory buildings or structures.
Oh, I see it, yeah, number 28 here. Or 29.
This is 551D,
What was the date?
2016.
This was-
That-
this was put
that
in a
seems to
long,
be
long
it.
time ago.
That's it then, 551.
I can't say that that's exactly it. It might have just been relocated there or something could have been amended. I'd have to
Yeah.
dig and find.
Well, amend 5.5.1. And our provision here is a subsection of that.
Mhm.
So-
The specific change.
I don't know if that was specifically amended.
I think the finding works, but we need to
Yeah.
word it to,
Yeah,
like you suggest, Brett, but
Well, before we get into that, let me just note for the record that there is no member of the public here, so
thank you.
do not need to get public comment. Board members have reviewed the letters of support that were submitted. Does anybody have any further comments before I'll ask for a
Do we have to read them into the record?
motion? Read what, the letters? No, they'll be added to the written record. Somebody wanna try to craft a motion?
we could try. I move that the board make a finding that the current principal resident on address in question is a current non-conforming what's the word I want to use? Is an existing non-conforming principal structure that has been in existence as is for over 18 years. And that the changes to this property that are being requested by the applicant tonight are only changing the distance between the principal residence and the pool, which are found to be existing together as part of the principal residence, are not changing, requiring a variance. So we find that the owner of the property can by right do what he has applied to do with his application. I may be making a lot of words out of it,
I think you got it right then.
Got it all?
okay?
Yep.
And,
Is that it?
I think so.
Is there a second?
I thought about another condition, about a safety rail about that, around that corner, but 5 feet is
I
still.
honestly don't know
Huh?
if that's in our jurisdiction, in our authority.
5 feet, 4.7 feet is quite a bit. So I'm gonna withhold that.
Okay.
Anybody else thinks we should do it?
Does anybody second the motion that was made? Does anybody need to hear it again? Okay,
Did you copy it all?
I got it.
it's clear? All right, seconded by Patrick. We ready to vote? Any further comments? All in favor? Aye. And that's 4 in favor, nobody opposed.
Not a word.
That motion passes.
Existing non-conforming.
Great, yeah. Thanks very much, appreciate the
Thank
time
you.
to kind of work that through.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
All right, we have minutes from February 3rd, 22.
Yes.
However, I don't know how many
Only
of
Patrick
the
and I were
people in
there.
this were there.
Happy holidays, folks.
Happy holidays. I'll
Happy
get you guys a decision in the stamp plans as soon as we can, hopefully before end of this week and holidays.
Well, let me ask the people who were there, do you
See some pictures when you get
comments
back?
about
I was there too, but just not in the attendance.
Oh, was this the one that was your,
Oh.
This was last
That
year, last
happens, I think,
February.
every time, so.
oh, really?
I have a few corrections.
Did you?
They're very minor.
All right,
They should be. On the Winter Street. The first big paragraph there, about halfway, almost halfway down, it says, obstruction would be the view of 12 Winter Street patio. I would say of the 12 Winter Street patio. Streets plural,
I think he meant to do streets apostrophe,
okay?
but either way.
Got that?
Yes. Is that what you meant? Apostrophe, yes.
Then on the second page, under Hillary Matev asked for comments, it says there, Alex Normandin asked Matt for his presentation and worked. Okay, I guess that's fine, that's okay, I don't think we have to worry about that. But the funny one is way down where it says Morgan Steer. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Parentheses, about 3 horses down. I think it should mean houses.
Houses, yep.
Okay. Unless it's 3.
We don't
three
measure in
horses like
horses
that.
anymore.
Darn
yeah.
autocorrect.
And then,
Big horse.
then on the next page, where it talked about Psy, it says, no, there was no variance granted in 1986, but what was granted
Was the
was the legalization. And that's it, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Pretty simple, except for the horses.
Anybody else have anything? Okay, is there a motion to approve these minutes? Second,
Second?
all in favor?
Thank you, guys.
All right,
we don't have a lot of planning updates. There's a lot going on in town, though, if you're curious.
I drive through it every morning.
I'm sure you've noticed the downtown in pieces. We're working through it. Utility work, developments, the whole shebang all at the same time, but engineering, DPW, and the community has been great, but if you notice anything, let us know. We're undergoing our housing production plan updates still, so we've been working through that process for the last few months. We're gonna bring it to the select board and the CPDC in January. If you're curious to learn more about that initiative and some housing related strategies, there's presentations online and we'll present again at those 2 meetings. We're starting hopefully a net zero plan update in 2023 to help sustainability initiatives and new buildings and pre-existing building retrofits as well. What else? We got a grant from Housing Choice Initiative to potentially look at conceptual redesigns of Walker's Brook Drive and that corridor. Good luck to us. The MVP grant, which we got awarded last year, over $2 million. That project will start construction this spring. We have a few engagement going on there. And then maybe the big one for you guys is we're continuing to work through MBTA communities, which is a new state legislation and law that requires multifamily housing in and around our train depot for short. So eventually we're gonna have to strategize, CPDC, select board, and potentially zoning board together, and many more as well. Stakeholders, public and leaders should probably look to maybe get together, strategize on where the town is going with that. We're required to add zoning that can allow up to 1,493 units over 43 acres of land. So it's gonna be a big discussion. There's some ideas and concepts we have. We've just gotten some data back from the state on some of our pre-existing zones and some recommendations they have on where we can help, but that's just something to look forward to that we're gonna have to figure out because it can impact grant funding and other funding across the town. So we wanna stay in compliance and find a way to comply. So that's it from me. I guess I should probably let you know I did move up to community development director in town. I was asked to let you guys know. In case you need anything, we hope to backfill staff for senior planner. But that's just internal stuff that we're working through. So I have great support from staff like Brett and others. So not much change to you guys, but asked to make you aware. So
Congratulations.
thank you.
Do you know if we have anything for a January meeting?
We have 2 applications. Oh, that is probably the last thing we should check.
Yes, after messing with your schedules because of my choir memberships this fall, I am now changing my choir membership again. Back to my old one, which is Monday nights.
Oh.
Sorry. Which means I'm free on Wednesday nights.
When are you moving your hockey thing?
So mine are typically at 5 o'clock now, but we do have games on Wednesdays. So I'm, as long as it's at 7, I think any day, but Wednesday's not as good now, but what day are we thinking for January?
Well, I was thinking Mondays for 2023.
I know you were. I mean, would it be, can we move to Tuesdays? Does that work for people?
I could do Tuesdays.
Does it work for the town?
I'm fine with Tuesdays. I'll look to avoid select board meeting dates that are here. And if we can't, we'll meet in the conference room as we have in the past. My plan was to get you guys down to once a month. We're a bit
Yeah, I see that.
lower on applications right now, and just the quorum scheduling wise, it's a bit easier to try to plan for one to try to get
Yes.
everybody to attend. So
Yeah, I don't know
I
about
don't mind
anybody
aiming
else.
for Tuesdays if I can get all 4 of you guys there,
And
whatever
I
day
would-
works.
I would rather, if it came down to it and we needed to do more applications on one meeting.
Yep.
That's better than.
Yeah, that's what we do
I
for
mean,
CPDC
it's
and
pretty
it's
rare
worked
that
well.
our meetings last more than an hour.
Yeah.
You know, and
It looks like there's 5 Tuesdays in January, so I don't know if we're looking at the 17th or the 24th. Oh,
the 24th,
we're
'cause
talking
right now it's on the
January or
23rd.
February.
Yeah, I mean, it will probably be one of those 2 dates, 17th or 24th, if you can put
Both of those,
placeholders for
yeah.
them right now.
That should be okay for me.
Yeah, both either should work. I think we aim the 17th. My recollection is the select board on the 24th. So
if
I'll-
is publication happening in time for that?
I can get it out in time, yeah.
Or here, are we thinking like the 21st for February as well, if something comes up? I can put
Yeah,
It's easier for me to kinda like just put them in now so I don't
Yeah.
make any plans.
Exactly.
yeah, but I would say the 28th in February even.
28th, okay.
Yeah. I'll confirm those tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll get you those dates tomorrow.
Great. Okay. All right,
Sounds good.
any other business?
Not from me.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion
Second?
adjourned.
Second.
All in favor?
Great.